First, I want to thank John and Sandy for inviting me to explore the adjacent possible with you all in this weird Sandy box you have here. A funny thing happened to me on the way to the Imagination in Action Forum. I read a piece by Sandy and John called "The Funny Thing Happened to Us on the Way to the World Economic Forum." And I saw a term in their article that I'd never seen before. The term was weird, but it was weird in the Davos sense. In Davos, weird means Western, industrial, educated, rich, democratic. And I thought, that's not the kind of weird we're exploring, or we should be exploring, but I thought, I'm a lawyer. And lawyers are very weird in the Davos sense, and we are rarely weird in the exploratory, virtuous sense, revolutionary sense. I think that's a huge problem. So I'm here as a lawyer aspiring to be weird with you all. So there's this fellow. Anyone recognize this picture? Some are either not New Yorkers or not old enough to remember this. Crazy Eddie was weird in a very bad sense. Crazy Eddie was a guy who on late night television advertised that he had the lowest prices for any electronics you could ever want in New York City. And it was true, but it was a fraud. As a result, he drove everyone into the ground because no one could meet his prices. Turns out not even he could meet his prices. He was perpetrating a fraudulent scheme. So I feel like now globally we are experiencing Crazy Eddie syndrome. There's two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Crazy Eddie syndrome, and I want to talk about techno-corporate feudalism, two problems that are confronting us, and there needs to be the weird lawyer to confront both of these problems. So Crazy Eddie syndrome suggests that society, entrepreneurs, individuals, nation states will succeed if they are the most radical, the most crazy, the most insane. And the countries and regions or virtual worlds that embrace the most insane will win the day. And that means any of us that are rational and sane quite likely will lose. That's a challenge. Second challenge we've got is we still live in this top world, or at least governments and lawyers think we live in this top world, a world governed by the nation state. I think it's pretty clear to a lot of folks in this room that the nation state may be dying if it's not dead already. How many of you have kids? How many of your kids think that they belong first to the United States of America and second to Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp? Or do they think they first belong to the ecosystem of Apple, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and second as American citizens? I say we're moving more and more into this world where the ecosystem that the next generation and even some in our generation have moved is, our ecosystem is first that techno-corporate fiefdom in which we reside, and secondarily to the nation state in which we reside. The thing we haven't even thought about is how a world, an IP6-enabled world where everything is a bot, all of a sudden may have sentience and ability to play a role as an individual in whatever the nation state or the techno-corporate feudal world in which we're moving. So I put it to you, and I think folks would be hard-pressed to disagree. The nation state is probably dying. We are moving to a system, at least in the near term, where techno-corporate feudalism takes over, and we don't know the future of the bot within that environment. So I pose two significant challenges. One is the problem of devolution, the Crazy Eddie syndrome concept that only the worst actors will survive. And second, that we are all moving into a place where we will reside in our own, within the techno-corporate fiefdom of our preferred carrier. I live in an I live in a Google world. My girlfriend lives in a Amazon world, and our daughter lives in a Apple world, and all happen to reside in America. But I'm thinking that there is a great opportunity. Now, about how many of you have heard of legal hackers? I know there's a couple in the room. How many of you are lawyers? Here's the problem. Most people don't think of lawyers as revolutionaries. We think of lawyers as the preservers of the status quo. We've got to flip that on its head. After every single great revolution in human history, it's been the lawyers, or at least those trained in legal reasoning, who have had to reorder society and put it back together. We are not right now training our lawyers to participate in communities like this. That has to change. Lawyers are beholden to their jurisdictions. Lawyers are beholden to dated rules, archaic rules. How do we bring lawyers to participate in this revolution? So the fact that there are probably a handful of legal hackers in this audience is, I think, a first great step. We will be sitting outside. Jameson, are you in the room? We started Legal Hackers about maybe 8 years ago, I think. Jameson has brought it to a new level. There are 140 chapters of legal hackers around the world. That is a global, powerful network of lawyers committed to obliterating the old model of lawyering. Our objective is to use new technologies to improve the law and legal process on a global scale. It means lawyers have to figure out how to get beyond jurisdictional issues and how to get beyond the archaic rules of the past. That's what we'll be talking about. A lot of what we're doing out there is going to be discussing issues of applying global computational law principles to realize some of these visions in this room. Thanks.